Hi everyone, welcome to day 258 of my 365-day gratitude journal. And today I'm grateful for the ability to take a negative and turn it into a positive. I have a couple little stories to tell, not too long. About 11 years ago, maybe 10, I had a falling out with some people in my life that it was heartbreaking. I mean, it was very sad and I felt really misperceived and misunderstood and it was heartbreaking and I kind of went through it. And instead of like right away being empowered, I lurked around for about 3 years, no word of a lie, feeling sorry for myself. I got so emotionally distraught that my hair broke off. It broke off and came off in like handfuls. Emotionally, I kind of shut down. I closed myself in at my house. I kept working, but I just didn't go out into the public for the longest time. Jump ahead. So 3 years after, I was particularly having a day where I had been triggered. I guess I'd had some stuff trigger some memories, and I was sitting on the steps of my back deck, just pouting, literally pouting, lower lip, feeling sorry for myself, kind of thinking, how did this happen and why me and poor me and la la la. And it was a really hot summer day. I was wearing a sarong tied at the top, but just loose and beautiful, light material, just a wrap on a hot summer day. And my guy, Daryl, was riding the riding mower and he was mowing the backyard. And we have a drainage ditch because we're next to farm fields. And the mower got stuck on the edge of it, just a little bit stuck. So I told him that I'd help him. He didn't have to get off of it. So he disengaged the blade and he stayed on the mower. And I went over and I went behind it and I was giving it a shove to kind of get him off the mound he was stuck on. And I thought, because I'm barefoot all the time, I thought, I must be standing on one of those pricker things, those weird pricker things. And hi, Ginny. And I was pushing and pushing, and I just felt all of a sudden prickers running up my leg. And I looked down, and I was standing on top of a wasp's nest, and they came up from through the nest in the ground, and they went up inside my sarong and were stinging the heck out of me. And my leg was covered and I started to scream. And I was running around and I was screaming and I couldn't get my sarong untied. And I mean, now when I look back, I mean, honestly, we laugh, we howl. But at the time, it was not funny. And I was being stung and stung and stung and stung and stung. And they got up inside my sarong. They were stinging my lower back and my back. And I couldn't get it off. I finally ripped it off. And I was running and screaming. And we had a sleeping bag that had been washed and was dry on the laundry line, and Daryl grabbed the sleeping bag because there were bees and they were wasps, not bees, and they were all over me and they were stinging and stinging and stinging and stinging, and he wrapped me up in the blanket. He whacked them off of me and I rolled on the back deck and I was screaming from inside the blanket because I could hear zzz, 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 flying around, and I was like, no! And I remember being in the blanket or in the sleeping bag just like, no. Anyhow, it stopped. And I just finally uncovered from the sleeping bag, and I was in so much pain, and it was so disgusting and so awful. So I ran a really cool bath, short little bit of water, and just laid in the cool bathtub because it really helped with the stinging sensation. And I got a little bit swollen, thank goodness not too swollen, and I'm not allergic, yay. Another thing to be very grateful for, especially in a moment like that. Pulled 32 stingers out of me, 18 alone from my lower back. And that's just the ones that lost their stingers in me. Wasps sting repetitively over and over again. I can only imagine I must have had a lot of stings because, again, 32 stingers. But then I remember when I was laying in the cool bath, and I remember thinking, what was I thinking about when that happened? What was on my mind? What was I thinking about? And I remembered that I had been sitting there with my little boohoo, feeling sorry for myself, thinking about the pain I was feeling and the loss I was feeling for these friendships, of which one I have recovered from and beyond, and we have talked to each other, and it's just so beautiful. And I think that's the one that I was mourning the most at that time. But then I just started to laugh. I'm laying in the bathtub and I started to laugh. And Daryl came in and he's like, "What are you laughing about?" And I said, I just got it. I got it. Universe just told me, you want to sit around and feel sorry for yourself, Wendy? I'll give you something to feel sorry about. And I will tell you that from that moment on, and still even to today, every time I see a wasp, I give myself a compliment. I tell myself I'm worth loving. I am so grateful for that experience with those wasps. As weird as it sounds, it was an immediate turnaround for me. I knew I had been feeling sorry for myself, and ever since that moment, I do not wallow in that kind of pain. I don't suffer within it. So let's jump ahead. We've been all together for this whole 358 days so far, or 258 days so far. And I had another situation occurring in my life that's been going on for, weirdly so, about 11 plus years, where there's someone in my life who I love very much, and their life mate has just felt that for some reason I'm the threat or the enemy, or that I'm always against them, or that I'm not enough of something. I don't know what the big issue is. And for 11 years, I have preserved my love of this other individual and blamed their life mate for why these conflicts were happening and why all this pain was happening. And I chose to silently suffer in it, loving through it, not advocating for myself, not finally putting my foot down in any way. So in October, I know this is going to surprise a lot of you because you know how I'm not exactly the most fancy cook, but I have been learning to cook this year and taking cooking lessons, and I've gotten much better. But I was cooking and I had some hot oil on the stove. I was again in this state of mind. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling hurt by how this individual could just run rampage on me and think that I'm this threat or this non-loving being towards the individual that I love very much. And I have not allowed myself to embrace accepting that they're a couple and that this is a choice together. But I got a text from this one individual who I love, who said that they support everything that their wife's been saying, and they support all of her actions. Ginny's asking me about my pork chops because she knows, yes, actually, that's funny, Ginny, because she's seen me mangle pork chops. I was cooking pork chops when this happened in October. So I was particularly feeling sorry for myself and really having a low moment. And I had just had an exchange of a volley back and forth of some really painful emails and them telling me that they're never going to come to visit me. Even though I've been living here for so long, they've never once come up to visit me, even though I'm only about 4.5 hours away. And that was just very painful because this person is somebody who is part of my life family. So I got a text from the individual saying they support everything their wife's been saying. And it was like, I felt like I just got this slap in my face or a punch in my gut. I thought, what? On the other hand, it was the missing piece. For all these years, I have been overlooking or not wanting to see that it was a dual thing, that it was two people. It wasn't just the one. I've been blaming the one for so long, but this is a choice that they were making. So I was sitting there and I was feeling sorry for myself, and the oil flew out of the pan. I hurled a pork chop into it dramatically, and it splashed into the oil. Yeah, okay, I was cooking wearing just pajama pants, so I didn't have a top on, and the oil shot out of the pan and burnt the whole front of my, and I ended up in the emergency room with 2nd-degree burns going down from my neck. And if you can see, I have these scars right here on my chest. I don't know if you can see them at all. Probably not in the light, and they go down my torso. And in the emergency room, we had a laugh with the doctors about my cooking skills, and they were a little curious why I was cooking shirtless when people say never cook naked. Note to self, don't cook naked. Anyhow, why am I telling you this story? because I took it as, thank you, universe, for saying to me one more time, you want to sit around and feel sorry for yourself, Wendy? Here's something to feel sorry about. So what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for turning negatives into positives, for liberating myself. I'm grateful for these scars right here because they remind me to stand up for myself, that I'm worth loving, that anybody who doesn't want me and my love in their life, it's okay. I don't have to be broken by that or hurt by that or pursue it to a point of my own demise or pain. I can see these scars, of which again, for me, they're a blessing. Because since then, I have been incredibly liberated. I've taken space. I'm not crushed anymore over their choice to not embrace me in their life. I'm okay with it. And I find myself sometimes when I start to think about that, I'm touching my scars and I'm allowing myself to embrace. I mean, I don't need universe to have me stung by wasps nor burn, but I was the co-creator of that moment in both situations. But I will tell you that I am empowering myself to love myself, to unconditionally accept myself. When tough things happen or when universe gives me shocking, mind-blowing, catch my eye things, I need to figure out what was I thinking, what was going on in my life when that happened, and to become empowered sometimes by things that at the time seem like some of the worst stuff that can happen. But to look at it and say, how am I learning from this? How is it empowering me? How does this make me stronger? I hope all of you. I sure am.